Feeling alone at church? Well, unfortunately, you have a lot of company. And in this video, we're going to talk about feeling alone at church, what is causing it, but most importantly, what we can do about it. Because here at Smarter Church, we're really not trying to complain. We're bringing solutions that can work so that more people don't have to be disappointed, so that church attrition goes down, so that churches begin to experience long-term exponential growth. And if you have gone to church and are feeling alone, then I just want to apologize, because that is a very difficult thing to experience, and it can be a form of rejection for many people, because they go to church and they think this is one place where I can fit in and I can find friends. But unfortunately, a majority of the church is not connecting, and we're experiencing a lot of attrition right now. And it doesn't have to be that way. And society has noticed too, because we've sort of lost that loving feeling. Our reputation for relationships is very poor. We got great music, we got better teaching than ever, but our relationship structures have declined over the last couple decades, and it's affecting our families and it's affecting our congregations, but we can change. And today I'd like to tell you about a young guy, Stephen, who noticed our relationship problem. And years ago, I was working at this company with a guy named Stephen, and I was a Christian and he was a Mormon, and we were both very passionate about our faith, and we got along really good. So, we would hang out at work, and we would get together sometimes and hang out. And then we decided to make a deal. We would go to each other's churches. So I invited him to my church, and of course we'd had a lot of conversations. But the music and the message and the energy, the presence of God was there, and he was really touched. And after the service, I was asking about his experience, and he actually, his eyes were watering, and he said, "Hey, Chris, we've talked over these last few months, and I want to let you know I'm really moving closer to the Jesus of the Bible." But then he kind of wiped his eye a little bit, and he said, "But the only problem is, if I joined your church, I feel like I would lose everything. I would lose all my friends." And he said, "I don't think by going to your church I would be able to make new ones." He says, "When I look around, you guys are very separated. You don't have any interaction. You spend a couple hours a week together, and how would I make friends? How would my future wife make friends? How would my future kids make friends?" Well, I didn't know what to say, so I said, "Well, I don't know. Well, let me go to your church and see what that is like." And I went to the Mormon board, or the stake. I'm sorry, I don't know which one it is. And I was so impressed by that meeting. And we had already talked about theology, and I just, when I looked into it, I couldn't buy the gold plates and the lost tribes, and so I couldn't put my faith in Mormonism, but the people were fantastic, and the relationships were amazing. And if I felt that the Mormons were really Christian and following the Jesus really that we follow, and I'm not putting down Mormons, but there are some really big differences there, I would have joined if I could have. If there was a Christian version of the Mormon church, there are some things that they do that are spectacular. There were things years ago where, Japan was our enemy from World War II, but Ford had to learn from Toyota. This is how you make better cars, and they had to integrate a lot of that technology, or I don't know if they would be here now. They had to modernize, they had to update. And Japan still makes fantastic cars, and we've gotten better as well from that time period where we're really struggling. But what did the Mormons do to create such strong families and relationships? And that's what I was looking for when I went to that church service, and it provided a lot of solutions that there's no reason Christians can't apply now. Honestly, there have been times in the past where we did a lot of the same things and we just lost track of those. One thing they do is they'll have let's say a church building, but they may break it up into regions so that people from different regions commute in and share that one building. And the purpose is that there might be one building that maybe houses a couple hundred people. There may be 1,000 members that use the building, but different groups use it at different times so that they can interact, so that they can have meals, so that they can get to know each other. And a lot of times those are geographic, because people in those different geographic areas may have the most in common. They have this down in a lot of places to a science and an art. And the people meet at the building during the week, and they have separate meetings. They meet as a group. Then the men and the women meet. Then people may meet by age or by what they do. So there's several meetings every Sunday in different contexts. And then they may not leave. They may continue to hang out there, have a meal, have activities. Our youth spend usually 2 hours a week at church. Their youth probably 10 hours a week related to church activities in some form or another. If their youth groups are too small, they're going to merge. with bigger groups so that when they're teenagers, they feel like they have a tribe, because they know if it's too small, that teenagers especially are very vulnerable, but even adults, we really need to have a tribe-like size as soon as possible. And so this is something that they do really good. And then my friend Stephen was telling me about the schools and the colleges that they go to. That was the first time that I heard more about BYU, Brigham Young University in Utah, and how they funnel so many of their young people to go to the school, but they're very aware. We really want to encourage these people to, our young people, to get married, to find spouses. So they're creating activities, creating events all through the latter stages of high school and college so that the young people to meet together. And this is so critical, where so many of our young people are bored on the weekends and bored on the summers, and they just get poached off by different groups, which is why 80% of our young people leave every year, and they're not coming back later, because we really didn't do anything to give them a value proposition or build that trust and loyalty. But they really teach their leaders in relationships, in running groups, in assimilating people, in handling conflicts, in preventing conflicts, and making sure that people's needs are met relationally. And this is something fantastic that the Mormons do. And I remember when I was in seminary, I remember asking my professors, "What do you think about Mormonism?" And they would just say, "Well, it's not biblical, and it's a sect." And I said, "Well, why are they growing so much?" This is especially in the 90s. I'm not sure how they're doing now, but they had a really good period of growth in the 90s. And the professors would just say, "Well, we don't know." So if you can't analyze your competition, then you can't learn from them. And there's no reasons we can't do some of these same things, especially because these were things we've done in the past but just forgot. So in summary, if you're going to church and you're feeling alone, well, it's not you, and I hope that provides some relief. Well, the answer is not an easy one, but we have to bring change as Christians. So talk to other Christians about these things. We don't have to keep accepting things the way they are, as they are. We need to change. We need to innovate. We can't keep going the direction that we're going, but we have to talk about problems. We have to find solutions. We have to talk to our leaders. We have to talk to our pastors. We have to talk to the leaders at our schools and our colleges and say, look, the status quo isn't working anymore. We've got to do better so that people's needs are met and that people aren't going to church and feeling lonely, but finding the friends they need and having a strong tribal community that loves and supports them.